Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. We have two guests today. We have Mattie Gantz and Trica Young, and we're talking about first aid. They are specialists in heart first aid, CPR, and AED training. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So we're going to do a two-part show today. What we're going to do is one part we're going to focus on the CPR. The second part we're going to focus on first aid. Why is it important for everybody to know CPR? And we'll start with you, Mattie.
Well, I think it's important for everyone to know CPR because you may have to save a life. You can use it at home or, anywhere out in the community. You want to be able to know what to do and how to do it, and it's just a good thing to have.
Trica, why do you think it's important that everybody should get that training?
Well, I felt it was important as soon as I gave birth to my son. So I've been certified now for 22 years, and I just felt as though if a situation arises, I want to be empowered enough to be able to help.
If you're a mom,
yes.
Why is it important if you're a mom and you have small children to know CPR? What are some of the things, situations you can find yourself in?
Breathing emergencies don't have an age number on it. And I just felt like I went through this 9 months, and I want to make sure that I can do whatever I need to do to make sure that my child is okay, just in case a breathing emergency might help, because it's always going to be at a time that we weren't expecting.
Now, I remember when my little sister, she was about 6 or 7 years old, she swallowed a quarter. Mm-hmm. You have emergencies, choking emergencies like that. What should you do? What is the first thing you should do?
Call 911.
Call 911.
And the reason that we say that is in any life-threatening event, and a choking emergency is a life-threatening event. So any life-threatening event, you're going to want to make sure that you get advanced help to you sooner than later. And I just want to chime in there before we get into that. When we're calling 911, we want to make sure we're very, very, very specific about our location, information about our victims, and where we are. So when I say that, yes, do they have GPSs? They'll know we're in this building. But the more information you give them, the quicker they can get to you. So for example, we can say, okay, we're in this building and we're in room 133. And if you have an extra person there, when you know that it's time for the ambulance to get there, have them go out to the front and bring the paramedics back to where you are. Mm-hmm. Because those small steps can actually save you a lot of time and get you and that victim a lot of help, because you're going to get more help so that you can kind of be off and you be able to know you've done what you can as a first responder, but now the advanced help will be able to get to them and get them to the hospital. So,
and if that person is choking, you want to tell them to keep coughing. Continue to cough, continue to cough.
What does the coughing do?
Hopefully it's going to dislodge whatever's in the throat, and maybe it's going to pop out. If they're coughing and nothing's happening, you want to go with the Heimlich maneuver, and we'll show you how to do that.
And what exactly is the Heimlich maneuver?
Okay, so, and I'll throw this out there too. So if they're coughing, then obviously they're getting some airflow. They may be able to cough it up themselves, which is ideal, okay? When they get to a point, and usually universal, how do we know they're choking, right? So universal, wherever you come from, wherever you are, is holding your neck. And then we ask, are you choking? Okay? So it sounds funny, but it's super, super important that we find out if they're choking or not. So once we find out that they are choking, then we're going to encourage them to cough. And we're going to just stand at the side, keep coughing, keep coughing. That's also reassuring them, because they are going to be scared, because this potentially is a breathing emergency.
Life-threatening, yeah.
Okay? So keep coughing, keep coughing. When they get to a point where they cannot cough any longer, then that lets you know that their airway is obstructed and they're not getting any airflow in or out. So that's when we go behind them, and basically we teach our students that you put up a 5 and you make a fist, and then that thumb side is going to go above the belly button. And then you're just going to secure it with this hand, and you're going to go inward and upward.
So you get behind the person.
You're
Yes.
getting behind them. You're making sure that you have a leg in between their legs. And the reason that we have a leg in between their legs is so that if they end up, remember, there's no airflow going. So if they end up passing out, rather than them falling on you and you not being prepared and you falling out as well, then you have a leg there to stabilize and they can fall on your leg and you can help them the best you can to the ground. Okay.
What about when they're in that lying position? If someone has drowned or something, or they're at the point where they're on their back?
So if they're at the point where they're on their back, then we would basically do CPR. Okay, so there's a difference. When we're doing that CPR on a choking victim, we're going to do our 30 compressions. Hopefully, those 30 compressions have pushed something out. So before we go to breathe into that victim, we're going to check their mouth and see if anything came out. If something came out, then we'll do a quick sweep, okay? Then we will go ahead and put on our face shield, give them 2 breaths. Now, this is when you'll have to pay attention. If the 2 breaths don't go in, then that means what? There probably is something still lodged there. Because you could have pushed up half of it, you know. So if the 2 breaths don't go in, then we'll go back to our 30 compressions, and hopefully it'll push some more out.
How much time do you have?
Well, you want to just get it out, and at that time, you won't be thinking about how much time you have. You're just going to keep doing it until it comes out or until the paramedics get there.
And if you're alone, you're going to keep doing it until you're exhausted and you collapse.
Now, is it best for people to be on their back or on their belly?
Oh,
Is
always
there an optimal position?
No, always on their bellies.
On their back.
Oh, sorry, always on their backs.
On their back.
Sorry about that. Always on their backs. So I just want to chime in one quick thing that we didn't hit. So when that person's awake, let's say you do get it out, they still need to go and get checked out.
Why?
Okay? Because when something has come up forcibly like that and you're using the abdominal thrust, or even if they coughed it out on their own, for example, your sister with the quarter, you don't know what potentially was injured when it came out, and if there might be some swelling later on because something has been forcibly removed from their bodies.
So even after the episode, you still need
Absolutely.
to get checked out.
Because remember, the first thing we did before we even started any abdominal thrust, we had someone call 911.
Right.
Also, what if someone is having a heart episode? What do you do?
Okay.
Well, if they think they're having a heart attack?
Yes.
Well, the first thing you're going to walk up, they hope they will be on the ground. You're going to shake them, ask them if they're okay. If they could be responsive or unresponsive. If they're unresponsive, you're going to automatically start CPR and breathing and pumping.
And what is the AED?
And again, I just want to touch on something. So if they are awake and they're feeling any chest pain, we always encourage our students, again, we'll tell you, anytime there is a life-threatening event, call 911. So make sure that somebody calls 911. If you have extra people there, and I will just throw this out there too. So if you have extra people there, I would say, hey, Mattie, go call 911, get an AED, and come back. And we'll talk about what the AED is in a minute. But you want to make sure that you designate somebody specifically to go call 911. Because what could end up happening, I'm over here and I say, call 911, get an AED, come back. Stephanie, you might think that I told Mattie. Mattie might think that I told you. And did 911 get called? Absolutely not. So you want to make sure if you know that person, call their name out. If not, you in the navy blue blazer, can you go call 911, get an AED, and come back? And the reason you want them to come back is so that you know they actually made the call. It's not like they would do it on purpose, not make the call, but some people during emergency situations, they react differently and they may freeze up. And so if you see that they're not able to do it, then you pick someone else, but always make sure for any chest issues, they're feeling chest pain, hard to breathe.
It's a 911 call.
Make sure you call 911.
We have been in situations where we've told people to go and no one called. Just make sure they go and they come back. We stress that in school.
What is an AED?
The AED is a defibrillator that's going to shock your heart to stop. Once you put the pads on and it tells you to shock, it's going to shock your heart back into a rhythm that it should be in.
And they're usually found in most of your very highly populated areas. So for example, your places of worship. A lot of job sites have them now, schools, your airports. So if you don't know where it is and somebody asks you to call, and this is what we also teach our students, then you want to look for your main office.
They will know where it is.
Security usually will know how to get a hold of it. And we always encourage people to bring it back with you. It's better you have it and you don't need it rather than you're there, then all of a sudden you need it and you're wasting time now by having someone have to go get it.
How do you know how to use it?
So the cool thing about the AEDs
It will tell you.
Yes, they come in all different shapes and colors, and they're all different, but they all are designed to do the same thing. So most of them that we've come across inside of the package, it'll have like step 1, 2, and 3. And step 1, you got to make sure you turn it on. Sounds funny.
It's the main thing.
It sounds funny, but make sure you turn it on, and then it will show you exactly where to place it. So the AED, they're basically pads with stickers on the bottom. They're like big stickers, okay, to kind of make it so everyone can understand. So you'll put one here and one here, depending on the size of the person. And then after that, once you hook it up, and you turn it on, it will tell you, okay, we're analyzing the heart rate. And you want to make sure that you step away from the victim, because a lot of people, and especially, I don't blame you, if it's your family member, you're wanting to hold their hand, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, you know, even if they're unresponsive. But if the AED is analyzing the heart rate and I'm holding on to Mattie, it's going to analyze my heart rate.
Right. So the main thing, once you get it hooked up, you want to tell
Make sure
everybody to get back.
everyone's out of the
You're going
way.
to have people with their cell phones or want to know what's going on getting close, you tell everybody to get back. The machine is telling you, analyzing heart rate. And then when it says treat for shock, if everyone's back, hopefully they are, it'll tell you to press the button.
And sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. It may say we advise to shock. Okay, so if it does, that again, you know, and it looks very dramatic when we teach our students, but we say, okay, everyone out of the way. I'd rather somebody hit me out of the way rather than me get shocked. And I don't need it.
So you can get shocked if you're too close.
If you're touching.
If you're touching
If
the
you're
person.
touching.
Yes. Now, you know, when we're doing proper CPR, we're going to be on our knees, and the victim will probably be right in front of our knees. We're okay to be that close, but we want to make sure that no one is touching because we don't want their heart rate analyzed, because it's good. Of course, if her heart rate's being analyzed, it's going to say no shock advised, right?
But
And
they're talking
then-
about me, not the patient, if I'm
Yes.
touching them. Yeah.
So, and then also when it comes to the shocking part, you want to make sure that no one's touching, because now you're going to have someone else to have to care for.
Now, once you've done the shock, that just gives you additional time for the paramedics to get there. It gives you a few more minutes.
It does,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's going to shock them back into a normal rhythm.
The machine will say shock. After you shock, the machine will also say start CPR. So it's already told you, you've already shocked. It's telling you to start CPR. You still go back to your CPR.
And
you
they're
continue
still
to do
hooked
that.
up to the AED, and during this process, while they're still hooked up, you are still doing your CPR, and then it will prompt you again, okay, analyzing heart rate. Then you'll stop, make sure everybody's out of the way again, and let it do its thing.
Now let's move on to people who may have had a breathing episode, an asthma episode, or a diabetic situation. What would you do if someone is passed out, or they're about to pass out, or they fainted because of asthma or diabetes?
Okay, so there are two different things. I'll hit on the diabetic part. So if it is a person that you know has diabetes, then the first question is, do you have any supplies? Generally, that's a trigger word for, do you have like your sugar? Do you have your tester? Because maybe you might be able to test them right away to see if their sugar's high or low. We always teach our students, regardless of whether you know or don't know, you won't hurt the victim by giving them sugar. If it's already high, giving them sugar,
it's not going to
make a big difference. But if they're really low and you don't give them sugar, that becomes a problem. So you want to make sure that you always give them sugar. And we're really specific with the types of sugar. So sugar can be your heavy hitters like your orange juice, Coca-Cola. If you have sugar packets, make sure it's not your artificial sugar.
No Equal, no Splenda.
People don't think about that. They just grab the sugar packet because they want to help, but make sure it is real sugar. Also, something else that we do if the victim is not, and so for those of you all that are diabetics, okay, if for some reason you end up becoming unconscious, then it's always nice in your supply bag to have something like one of those gel pens that you decorate the kids' cake with.
Yes.
Okay. So we always advise using that because you can put it inside of their mouth and move their cheek around, and it'll absorb and actually help them. So that's something to throw in your supply closet or bag so that you can be well positioned to help somebody if they are unconscious.
Well, let's talk about asthma.
Well, asthma is just like the EpiPen. Well, they all emergencies. They're 911 calls first. If the person has his inhaler, ask them where it is. If not, it's a 911 call. I may have my inhaler in my purse. I cannot give you my inhaler because it's not prescribed for you. So it's basically a 911 call.
Now, before we run out of time, because what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and then we're going to give a demonstration of how to pump.
Yes.
And where to pump, because I guess you can be afraid of doing it wrong.
Right.
Also, what's the difference in pumping on an infant or a child opposed to an adult?
Well, for an adult, you're going to use both your hands. For an infant, what's the age? 8?
So infants are the babies. So the children will go from adult and then down to the child.
Yeah.
So the children, you got to kind of gauge their size.
Yeah.
Because we got some kids that are bigger.
They're bigger.
Yes.
Okay. Not every 8-year-old is, small. So generally, it's like about 7 or 8 and under. It would be your younger ones, your children. So 8 and older, you kind of use this. So with your child, I make it like it's a bracelet. So you're not going to want to press all of your weight on the child, of course. So it's just your one hand, and then you put your other hand around it like it's a bracelet. And then that's how you pump into a child.
And for the baby, you're only going to use your 2 fingers. The baby's tiny. You're going to press like this. The good part about a baby, he's mobile because you have him in your arms. You've already called 911. You can go out to meet the EMS because you're holding the baby and you're pumping like this, but you're only using this part.
And so after 8, or once you're dealing with someone who is bigger, then you use
Then you use all your weight. You want to put all your weight.
adult.
Because you need to go at least 2 inches with you.
And that's another thing.
For it
how
to
do
be
you know
effective.
how deep you should go into the motion?
At least 2 inches. Yeah. So you're just gauging in your mind what at least 2 inches is, and you go down. You may, honestly speaking, you may hear some noises, some things moving around. Do not stop. I'd rather have something a little broken and be alive to talk about it rather than someone not pushing down deep enough and it not being effective CPR.
Well, we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we'll give a demonstration. We'll have our demonstration dummy.
Okay. Mannequin.
Yes.
I'll be the demonstration. I'm talking about myself.
Okay.
But anyway, you'll have the mannequin to work on. We'll do a session with the compression, how much, and exactly what. And also, we'll talk about the fact that you use mouth as well.
Yes.
I know when I received mine, they didn't use the mouth for
Yes.
various reasons, and we can talk about that in a few minutes. But we'll do a demonstration in just a minute on how exactly do you execute this thing.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant, and our guests today are Mattie Gantz, and we've got Trica Young, and they are CPR specialists, and we'll be back right after this.
Your girls have been with you through every moment of your life. They were with you when you felt unbreakable, and with you when you had your heart broken. They were with you when you shared your love with the world, and with you when she became your world. They're still with you right now. But how well do you know them?
Hello and welcome back to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guests today are Mattie Gantz and Trica Young, and they're CPR specialists. We're going to get ready to do a demonstration. Let's begin, Mattie and Trica, with a choking event.
Okay. So, generally speaking, if someone's choking, you walk up to them, then you'll want to ask them, are you choking? Okay, so she's able to cough. So you're going to just be standing to the side and encourage her to cough. Keep coughing, Mattie. Keep coughing. Keep coughing. Now, let's say Mattie stops coughing, okay? That now we have already, so I would say, Stephanie, can you go call 911, get an AED, and come back?
Yes, right away.
Wonderful. We want to make sure that help gets there sooner than later. Whether or not we get it out or not, we still need 911 to come. So what we'll do is I'm going to put my leg in between Mattie's leg, just in case she falls down or she passes out. I want to make sure that she's going to fall on my leg and I can help her down to the ground. Okay? So she's choking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my hand up and I'm going to look for her belly button. Right at her belly button, which is right here, I'm going to put my fist, and your fist is going to be thumb side against her abdomen, okay? And then once I put my fist there, I'm going to move my other hand and put it around, and I'm going to go inward and upward, inward and upward. And that is going to be what helpfully pushes out whatever is inside of Mattie.
Okay, so now, what happens if the person is on their back?
Okay.
Let's do a session of that.
So let's say this person has now passed out. We've gotten them down to the ground, and they're still choking, okay? Mattie's going to go ahead and start with the 30 compressions.
1, 2, 3, 4.
She's
5,
going down
6,
at least
7,
2
8,
inches.
9, 10, 11, 12.
And then
13,
after she does
14,
her 30
15,
compressions,
9,
she is
28,
going
29,
to
30.
check the mouth and see if anything was able to come out, because remember, this is an unresponsive choking victim. If something did come out, then she would scoop it out, and then she'd go ahead and give her 2 breaths, and hopefully the 2 breaths go in. Okay, so if they don't go in, then you're going to assume what? That this person still has something that they're choking on that's still inside of them. So she would go back to her 30 compressions, okay? So now we're actually going to just do a quick demonstration. And again, by no means, this just helping people so that they know if asked to do something, what it would look like, or if they see it. We strongly advise that everyone get CPR certified.
Are you okay?
Let's start on the AED.
Okay, sounds good. So Mattie, again, we said call 911, get the AED, and come back.
1,
so Mattie's
2,
doing her 30
3,
compressions.
4, 5, 6, 7.
With the AED, they all look different.
11,
oftentimes,
13, 14,
they will
15,
come
16,
with some directions.
19,
So like this
20,
might have
21,
1, 2, and 3, and it'll show you
5,
how to
6, 27,
use the
28,
AED.
29, 30.
So then you get there with your AED and you plug it in.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And
5,
I'll just show
6,
you the
7,
pads
8,
while she's
9,
doing that.
10,
So
11,
on the AED
12,
pads,
13,
it'll show you
14,
exactly where it needs to go.
16,
So this one is showing that it goes
19,
here,
20,
and this
21,
one is showing that it goes
3,
here.
4,
So
5,
that's exactly
6,
what we would
7,
do. We would just
8,
plug it up
30.
to our victim, and
Okay,
then
can you show us how to put it on the victim?
there you go. Super important. You're going to want to make sure that everyone is away from this victim.
Stand clear. Hit the green button.
Okay, and if it's analyzing, what you'll want to do.
Analyzing heart rhythm.
Stand clear.
You'll make sure
Stand
everyone's
clear.
away
Do
from
not
them.
touch the patient.
Stand clear.
And this is important so that you'll
Everybody
make sure.
get back.
Advised.
And it says to shock.
So what is it?
Charging. Stay clear of patient.
You want to
Everybody
make
stay
sure
clear.
no
Get back.
one is by the
Deliver
patient.
shock now. Press the orange button.
And then there's usually a button there.
Shock delivered.
Okay, and then
Begin
she would
CPR.
go back to
1,
your 30
3,
compressions.
4,
Okay.
5, 6, 7.
So it
8,
always
9,
gives you
10,
instructions.
It prompts
what to
you.
do.
12,
Yes, it will.
13,
No
14,
matter what it looks
15,
like or the version
17,
you have, it
18,
will prompt you on what to
19, 20,
do.
21, 22.
I think that's good, Mattie.
And so, and as we said earlier, and as we've said many times over this last 30 minutes,
Yes.
the most important thing is to call 911.
Absolutely.
This just buys you some more time.
It does. It does.
What are some of the other things you would advise in doing the compression for people who are a little hesitant when it comes to the mouth thing?
Okay. So usually you can find them at the store. We have some, they have face shields. And so if you use a face shield, you can't worry, you don't have to worry about there being an issue if you're nervous about putting your mouth on someone in the community that you don't know.
Yeah, for example, if someone passed out in a park,
Exactly.
a homeless person or whoever
Yes.
may have passed out in a park, and you're reluctant to do that because
You don't know
of
them. I
health
get
reasons.
it.
Yes.
And then also, to be honest with you, there are a lot of face shields that you can get that just hook onto your key ring. So it's a part of your key ring, and you'll always have it with you.
Very good, very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this portion of the show. When we come back, part 2 of the program is going to focus on
The first aid.
First aid.
Yes.
First aid, which is things like wounds. If you have situations
is.
like a wound that needs to be treated in an emergency
Wounds,
situation.
allergies, things like that.
Okay, and we'll talk about things like EpiPen.
Yes, and what that means, exactly.
And what that means. And you said that you can find these AEDs. They're usually, like if you're dealing in the community, you can find these AEDs. It's anywhere.
There are a lot of places, and I just want to throw out there, don't be alarmed when you open it. A lot of them will make a noise. That's just to let someone know that they're using, that it's needed to be used at that
They're
time.
normally mounted on the wall, and you
Yes.
just open them up.
In your high traffic areas.
Okay, so you've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. We've been talking to Mattie Gantz and Trica Young about their CPR specialists, and we'll have a part 2 of this program in just a minute. Have a great day.